The Odyssey, by Homer, Book 8. You're listening to Classics Made Clear, classic texts translated with accuracy and accessibility for today's listener. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share these videos with your friends. When early-born, rose-fingered dawn appeared, Alcinous rose from his bed, and Odysseus, Zeus-born, sacker of cities, got up too. Alcinous led them to the Phaeacians' meeting place, which stood beside the ships. When they arrived, they sat together on the polished stones. Meanwhile, Pallas Athena walked throughout the city, taking on the form of Alcinous' clever herald. She was planning how to help great-hearted Odysseus get back home. Standing beside each man, she said, "Come now, Phaeacian leaders and captains, go to the assembly so you can learn about the stranger who has recently reached the house of wise Alcinous after wandering across the sea, a man who looks like one of the immortals." Saying this, she stirred each man's spirit and urged him on. Soon the whole gathering place filled quickly with people coming together. Many stared in amazement when they saw the clever son of Laertes. For Athena had poured a divine grace on his head and shoulders. She made him look taller and stronger, so that he would be admired and loved by all the Phaeacians, and so he would seem impressive and honorable, ready to succeed in the many games they planned to challenge him with. When the people had assembled and were gathered together, Alcinous spoke to them. "Hear me, Phaeacian leaders and captains, while I say what my heart urges. This stranger, though I do not know who he is, has come to my house after wandering, whether from the lands of the east or the lands of the west. He asks for an escort home, and he begs that we make it certain. So let us, as we always have, arrange an escort. No visitor who comes to my home has ever been forced to stay here long in grief because we failed to send him on his way. Instead, come. Let's pull a black ship down into the shining sea, ready for its first voyage. And let 52 young men be chosen, the best in our kingdom as always. Once you have tied the oars properly to the oarlocks, come back ashore. Afterward, come to my house for a quick meal. I will provide generously for everyone. This is what I command the young men to do. As for the rest of you, the sceptered kings, come to my beautiful home so we may welcome the stranger in my halls. Let no one refuse, and send for the divine singer, Demodocus, because the god has given him a special gift for delighting us with whatever song his heart urges him to sing." When he finished speaking, Alcinous led the way, and the kings carrying scepters followed after him. A herald went off to bring the divine singer. The 52 chosen young men also set out as instructed, heading down to the shore of the restless sea. When they reached the ship and the water, they hauled the black vessel toward the deep. They set the mast and the sails on the ship, fixed the oars into the leather straps in proper order, and hoisted the white sail. They anchored her offshore in the southern breeze. Then they made their way to the great house of wise Alcinous. The porticos, courtyards, and men's halls became crowded with people. A great crowd gathered, young and old. For them Alcinous sacrificed 12 sheep, 8 white-toothed pigs, and 2 slow-moving oxen. They skinned the animals, prepared them, and made a beautiful feast. The herald arrived, leading the faithful singer, the one the muse loved greatly. She had given him both a blessing and a burden. She took away his sight, but gave him wonderful, pleasing song. Pontonous set a silver-studded chair for him in the middle of the diners and leaned it against a tall pillar. Then a herald hung a clear-toned lyre on a peg above the singer's head and showed him how to take it in his hands. He placed a basket and a fine table beside him, and a cup of wine to drink whenever he wished. The people reached out eagerly for the food set before them, and when they had satisfied their desire for eating and drinking, the muse inspired the singer to begin a song of the famous deeds of heroes, a story whose fame had reached all the way to wide heaven. He sang of the quarrel between Odysseus and Achilles, son of Peleus, how once, at a rich feast of the gods, they argued with fierce words. Agamemnon, lord of men, felt glad inside when the best of the Achaeans were fighting, for Phoebus Apollo had told him this beforehand in sacred Pytho, when he crossed the stone threshold to receive an oracle. For then the beginning of sorrow was rolling forward for both Trojans and Greeks, according to great Zeus's plan. This is what the famous singer sang. But Odysseus took the great purple cloak in his strong hands, pulled it over his head, and hid his handsome face, because he was ashamed to let the Phaeacians see the tears that slipped from beneath his eyebrows. And each time the divine singer paused in the song, Odysseus lifted the cloak from his head, wiped away his tears, took the two-handled cup, and poured a drink offering to the gods. But whenever the singer began again, and the best of the Phaeacians urged him on, because they loved his stories, Odysseus once more pulled the cloak over his head and wept. No one else noticed his tears, but Alcinous alone saw and understood. Sitting near him, he heard the deep moans Odysseus tried to hide. At once Alcinous spoke to the awe-loving Phaeacians. "Hear me, leaders and captains of the Phaeacians. We have satisfied our hearts with good food and with the lyre that belongs at a joyful feast. Now let us go outside and test ourselves in all the games, so that when our guest returns home, he can tell his friends how far we excel others in boxing, wrestling, jumping, and running." When he said this, he led the way, and the others followed. A herald hung Demodocus's clear-voiced lyre back on a peg, took the singer's hand, and led him out of the hall along the same path the others had taken. The finest Phaeacians went ahead, eager to watch the contests. They made their way to the gathering place, and a huge crowd followed, countless people, with many fine young men standing up. Acroneos rose, and so did Ocyalus and Elatrius, Nautius and Primneus, Anchialus and Erytmeus, Pontius and Proireus, Thun and Anabysineus, and Amphialus, son of Polyneus Tectonides. Then Euryalus stood up, equal in form to man-slaying Ares, a son of Naubolides, the best in looks and build of all the Phaeacians, except for noble Laodamas. 3 sons of noble Alcinous stood up: Laodamas, Halius, and godlike Clytoneus. They were the first to make a try at running. The racecourse stretched out from the starting point, and all of them sped forward at once, flying quickly over the plain and kicking up dust. Among them, noble Clytoneus was easily the best runner. He outdistanced the others by as far as a pair of mules can plough across a field, and he reached the crowd far ahead while the others were left behind. Next, they tried the hard contest of wrestling, and in this Euryalus again defeated all the best. Amphialus proved strongest in the long jump. Elatrius was the best of all in throwing the discus, and Laodamas, good son of Alcinous, was best in boxing. After they all delighted their hearts with the games, Laodamas, son of Alcinous, spoke among them. "Come, friends, let's ask the stranger whether he has learned any sport or skill. By the looks of him, he's not poorly built. Look at his thighs, his calves, his broad shoulders and strong arms, his sturdy neck and great strength. He doesn't seem to lack youthful power. It's just that he's been worn down by many troubles, and truly, nothing wears a man down worse than the sea, even if he is very strong." Then Euryalus answered Laodamas and said, Laodamas, your words are very fitting. Now go yourself, challenge him openly, and speak your intention." So when the good son of Alcinous heard this, he stepped into the center and said to Odysseus, "Come this way, stranger, father, noble guest, and try the games yourself, if anywhere you have learned any. It seems right that a man like you should know something of contests. For while a man is alive, there is no greater fame he can have than what he accomplishes with his own feet and hands. So come, give it a try, and chase the worries from your heart. Your journey will not be long delayed, for your ship is already launched, and your companions are prepared." Adroit Odysseus answered him, "Laodamas, why do you urge me to do these things while mocking me? Worries weigh on my mind far more than games. I have suffered greatly and struggled much before, and now I sit in your assembly longing for my return home, begging the king and all your people." But Euryalus replied and insulted him to his face, "No, stranger, I don't take you for a man skilled in contests, not in the kinds of games widely practiced among men. You seem instead like someone who lives aboard a many-benched ship, a captain of sailors who are traders, one who keeps track of cargo and oversees freight and greedy profits. You don't look like an athlete." Then Odysseus, the man of many strategies, scowled and said, "Stranger, what you said is not right. You sound like a reckless man. For the gods do not give every gift to every person, not beauty, not mind, not skill in speaking. One man may be weaker in appearance, yet a god crowns him with excellent speech. People look at him with pleasure, and he speaks clearly and with gentle respect, and he stands out among those gathered. As he walks through the city, they gaze at him as if he were a god. Another man looks like the immortals themselves, but his words lack grace. Just like you, your appearance is impressive. Not even a god could improve it. But your mind is misshapen. You've stirred the heart inside my chest by speaking out of line. I am not ignorant of contests, as you claim. On the contrary, I used to think myself among the very best, as long as I enjoyed youth's strength and trusted my own hands. But now I'm caught by hardship and by pain, for I have suffered greatly, enduring both men's wars and the painful waves of the sea. Even so, though I've suffered many troubles, I will try the games, for your words bite at my heart, and by speaking you have provoked me." He finished speaking, and springing up with his cloak still on, grabbed a discus, a larger, heavier one, far sturdier than the ones the Phaeacians used among themselves. He spun and threw it from his firm hand. The stone hummed through the air, and the long-oared Phaeacians, famous sailors, ducked down as it flew over them. The discus sailed far past all the marks. Disguised as a man, Athena placed a marker where it landed, called out his name, and said, "Stranger, even a blind man could feel this mark with his hands, for it stands separate from the rest, far ahead of them all. Take courage in this contest, at least. No Phaeacian will reach or surpass this throw." So she said, and long-suffering, godlike Odysseus rejoiced, glad to see a friendly ally in the crowd. Feeling lighter, he said to the Phaeacians, "Match that throw now, young men, and soon I'll send another one, just as far or even farther. Any of the rest of you, whose heart and spirit urge him, come here and make a try, for you have greatly angered me. Boxing, wrestling, or running, I refuse none of it with any Phaeacian, except, of course, Laodamas himself. For he is my host. Who would fight with a man who welcomes him? A man who does that is foolish and worthless. Someone who picks a contest with his own host in a foreign land destroys his own reputation. As for the rest of you, I neither refuse nor belittle anyone. I want to know you and test you face to face, for in the contests of men I am not without skill. I know well how to handle a finely polished bow, and I would be the first to shoot and strike a man in the midst of hostile enemies, even if many comrades were standing close by, shooting arrows alongside me. Only Philoctetes surpassed me in archery among the Trojans, when the Achaeans shot their bows. But besides him, I say I am far ahead of all the other mortals who now live on the earth and eat bread. I wouldn't wish to compete with the heroes of old, not with Hercules, nor with Eurytus of Oechalia, who dared to challenge even the immortal gods in archery. For that very reason, the great Eurytus died early. He did not reach old age in his halls because Apollo, angered by his challenge, killed him. With a spear, I can throw as far as another man does with an arrow. Only in running do I fear that some Phaeacian may outmatch me, since the waves crushed me so harshly, and aboard ship I had no steady care or nourishment. For that reason my legs have grown weak." He finished speaking, and everyone became silent, completely still. Only Alcinous spoke in reply. "Stranger, since you speak these things gracefully among us, and since you wish to show the strength and skill that follow you, angered that this man stood at your side and mocked you in the contest, for no mortal who knew how to speak wisely would insult your skill. But come now, listen to my words, so that later you may tell another hero. When you dine in your own halls beside your wife and children, remembering our excellence and the works Zeus has ordained for us, passed down straight from our fathers. For we are not famous for boxing or wrestling, but we run swiftly on our feet and are the best sailors alive. And always we love feasting, the lyre, and dancing, freshly changed clothing, hot baths, and restful beds. So come now, best dancers among the Phaeacians, dance, so that the stranger may tell his loved ones when he returns home how far we surpass others in sailing, running, dancing, and song. And someone should quickly go and bring Demodocus his clear-toned lyre, the one that lies somewhere in our house." So spoke godlike Alcinous, and a herald rose to bring the hollow-bodied lyre from the king's home. The 9 public stewards, chosen by the people and skilled at arranging every detail of the gatherings, stood up. They smoothed the dancing floor and widened the fine assembly space. A herald came near, bringing the clear-toned lyre to Demodocus. He stepped into the middle, and boys in their early youth, skilled dancers, stood around him. They struck the holy dance floor with their feet, and Odysseus watched the flash and sparkle of their steps and marveled in his heart. Then the lyre player began to strum and launched into a beautiful song about the love of Ares and fair-crowned Aphrodite. How Ares and Aphrodite first lay together in secret in the house of Hephaestus. Ares gave her many gifts and shamed the marriage bed of Lord Hephaestus. But soon a messenger came to Hephaestus, Helios, the sun, who had seen the two mingling in love. When Hephaestus heard this heart-breaking tale, he went straight to his forge, brooding over dark thoughts in his heart. He set a huge anvil upon its block and hammered out bonds, unbreakable, impossible to loosen, so they would hold fast. When he had completed the trap, furious at Ares, Hephaestus went to the bedroom where his precious bed lay. He spread the chains around the bedposts in a circle all around, and many more he hung down from the ceiling, as fine as spider webs, so delicate that not even an immortal god could see them, for they were made with extraordinary cunning. After he had arranged every part of the trap around the bed, he left and went to Lemnos, the well-built citadel that is dearest to him of all lands. But golden-reined Ares did not keep foolish watch. He saw the famed craftsman Hephaestus departing from his home. So Ares went at once to the house of far-famed Hephaestus, burning with desire for the love of fair-crowned Cytherea. Aphrodite had just come from the side of her mighty father Zeus, and was sitting down when Ares entered the house. He took her hand, called her by name, and said, "Come, my dear, let's go to bed and lie down in pleasure. Hephaestus is no longer at home. I believe he has already gone to Lemnos to visit the rough-speaking Sintians." So he spoke, and the idea of lying with him seemed sweet to her. The two climbed into bed and went to sleep. But all around them flowed the cleverly wrought chains of ingenious Hephaestus. The bonds of Hephaestus held Ares and Aphrodite fast, and they could not move or lift even a single limb. Then they understood at once that there was no escape. The far-famed, crippled craftsman Hephaestus came near. He had turned back before reaching Lemnos, because Helios had kept watch for him and told him everything. Hephaestus made his way home, his heart deeply wounded. He stood in the doorway, and fierce anger seized him. He shouted terribly, and made himself heard by all the gods. "Father Zeus, and all you blessed gods who live forever, come here and see something ridiculous and intolerable. Aphrodite, daughter of Zeus, is always dishonoring me, because I am lame. She loves deadly Ares instead, because he is handsome and strong of foot. But I was born weak. It is my parents' fault, whom I wish had never given me life. But look for yourselves. They have climbed into my bed, lying there in love, while I suffer in grief. They won't lie that way much longer, even if they love each other dearly. Soon, neither of them will wish to sleep. For the snare and the bonds will hold them fast until her father repays me the full bride price. Everything I placed in his hands for that shameless-eyed girl, beautiful to look at, but with no self-control." So he said, and the gods gathered at the bronze-floored house. Poseidon the earth-holder came. Hermes the helper came. Apollo the far-worker came. But the goddesses stayed home in modesty. The gods, givers of good things, stood in the doorway, and unquenchable laughter arose among them as they gazed at the clever work of ingenious Hephaestus. The gods who were watching began laughing and talking to each other. One would glance at the god next to him and say something like, "See, bad actions don't end well. Even someone slow can catch the fast if he's clever. Look at Hephaestus. He's lame and slow, but he trapped Ares, the fastest of all the gods on Olympus. That's what Ares gets for committing adultery." The gods kept making comments like that to one another. Then Apollo spoke to Hermes and said, "Hermes, son of Zeus, tell me honestly, would you be willing to be trapped in chains like that, if it meant you got to sleep next to golden Aphrodite?" Hermes immediately answered, "Oh, I wish that could happen. I wouldn't care if there were 3 times as many unbreakable chains around me, and every god and goddess stood there watching. I'd still happily sleep beside Aphrodite." The gods burst into even louder laughter. But Poseidon wasn't laughing. Instead, he kept begging Hephaestus to release Ares. Poseidon said to him, "Let him go. I promise you he'll pay everything you demand, every bit of it, just as is right." But Hephaestus answered, "Poseidon, don't ask me to do that. Guarantees from unreliable people aren't worth anything. How could I force you to pay if Ares ran off and escaped his debt and his punishment?" Poseidon replied, If Ares runs away from what he owes, I myself will pay it." Then Hephaestus answered, "If that's your promise, Poseidon, then I won't refuse you." Then he released the chains. As soon as Ares and Aphrodite were freed from even those strong bonds, they jumped up instantly. Ares fled to Thrace, and Aphrodite went to Cyprus, to Paphos, where she had her sacred grove and fragrant altar. There, the Graces bathed her and anointed her with immortal oil, the kind that makes the gods shine forever. They dressed her in beautiful clothing, a wonder to see. The famous singer finished his song, and Odysseus enjoyed it in his heart, as did the long-oared, ship-famous Phaeacians. Then Alcinous told Halius and Laodamas to dance alone, since no one could compete with them. They picked up a beautiful purple ball that clever Polybus had made. One of them, leaning far back, hurled it toward the shadowy clouds. The other leapt high into the air and caught it easily before his feet touched the ground. After showing how high they could throw and catch, they danced on the rich earth, switching places again and again. The other young men around the circle kept the rhythm, and soon a great roar of applause filled the space. Then Odysseus spoke to Alcinous. "King Alcinous, most honored of all people, you told me your dancers were the best, and now I see it with my own eyes. I'm amazed watching them." Alcinous's heart rejoiced at his words. Immediately he called out to the oar-loving Phaeacians, "Listen, leaders and captains of the Phaeacians, the stranger seems very wise to me. Come, let's give him a guest gift, as is proper. Across our land there are 12 distinguished kings, and I myself am the 13th. Let each of you bring him a well-washed cloak and tunic, and a talent of precious gold. Let's bring it all together quickly, so the stranger can hold it in his hands, and go to dinner with a glad heart. And let Euryalus make amends to him, with words and with a gift, since he did not speak properly earlier." When he said this, everyone agreed and ordered it done, and each man sent a herald to bring the gifts. Then Euryalus spoke in reply. "King Alcinous, most honored among all people, I will make amends to the stranger, as you command. I will give him this sword of solid bronze, with a silver hilt and a sheath of freshly cut ivory fitted tightly around it. It will be worth much to him." So he said, and placed the silver-studded sword in Odysseus's hands, and spoke winged words. "Farewell, father stranger. If any harsh word has been spoken, may the storm winds snatch it up at once and carry it away. And may the gods grant you to see your wife again and reach your homeland, for you have suffered long, far from those you love." Odysseus replied, "Farewell to you as well, my friend. May the gods give you every blessing, and may you never regret this sword you've given me as a token of your apology." He spoke, and slung the silver-studded sword over his shoulder. The sun went down, and the splendid gifts for him were ready. The illustrious heralds of Alcinous carried the gifts inside. The sons of noble Alcinous received the splendid presents and set them beside their respected mother. Alcinous himself led them there, and they sat down on high chairs when they arrived. Then Alcinous spoke to Arete. "Come here, wife. Bring a fine decorated chest, the best one you have. Put in it a well-washed cloak and tunic. Have the servants warm a cauldron of water over the fire, so he can bathe and see all the gifts nicely laid out, the gifts the noble Phaeacians have brought him. Then he can enjoy dinner, and the song that will be sung. And I will give him this beautiful golden cup of mine, so he will remember me every day when he pours out a drink offering in his hall to Zeus and the other gods." He said this, and Arete spoke to her handmaids, telling them to set a great tripod over the fire as quickly as possible. The women placed the bath tripod on the blazing fire, poured water in it, and lit wood beneath it. Flames wrapped around the belly of the tripod, and the water warmed. Meanwhile, Arete brought from her chamber a beautiful chest for the stranger, and placed the lovely gifts inside it, the gold and clothing the Phaeacians had given him. She herself added a cloak and a fine tunic, then spoke to Odysseus with winged words. "See to the lid yourself, and tie the knot firmly and quickly, so no one harms your things on the journey when you fall asleep on the dark ship." When long-suffering divine Odysseus heard this, he immediately fitted the lid on the chest and quickly tied the knot, one Lady Circe had once taught him to make. Right away, a housemaid told him to step into the tub and bathe. He was glad in his heart when he saw the hot bath water, because he had not been used to any kind of care since he had left the home of fair-haired Calypso, where he had been tended constantly as though he were a god. After the servants bathed him and rubbed him with olive oil, they put a fine cloak and tunic around him. He stepped out of the tub and went in among the wine-drinkers. Nausicaa, whose beauty came from the gods, stood by a pillar of the well-built roof and marveled at Odysseus as she looked into his eyes. Then she spoke to him with winged words, "Farewell, stranger. Some day, when you stand again in your own homeland, remember me. You owe me first the price for your life." Adroit Odysseus replied, "Nausicaa, daughter of great-hearted Alcinous, may Zeus, Hera's loud, thundering husband, grant this, that I reach home and see the day of my return. If that happens, I would pray to you even there as to a goddess, every day forever, for it is you, young lady, who saved my life." He spoke, and then sat down on a chair beside King Alcinous. The people were already serving out the meal and mixing wine with water. A herald came near, leading the faithful singer Demodocus, honored by all the people. He seated him in the middle of the guests and leaned him against a tall pillar. Then Odysseus spoke to the herald. He had cut a slice from the chine of a white-toothed pig, a cut where plenty of meat remained and where thick fat lay on both sides. "Herald, take this meat and give it to Demodocus, so that he may eat, and I, even though I am grieving, may honor him. For among all people on earth, singers deserve respect and honor, because the muse has taught them their songs and loves the family of bards." So he spoke, and a herald carried the meat and placed it in the hands of Demodocus. The singer accepted it and was glad at heart. Everyone reached out for the good food set before them, and when they had satisfied their desire for food and drink, Odysseus then spoke to Demodocus. "Demodocus, of all mortals, I praise you the most. Either the muse, Zeus's daughter, has taught you, or Apollo himself has done it, for you sing the story of the Achaeans in perfect order. All they did, all they suffered, everything the Achaeans endured, as though you had been there yourself, or heard it from someone who was. Come now, change the song, and sing of a wooden horse. The trick of the horse that Epeius made with Athena's help, which noble Odysseus once brought as a trap to the high city, filling it with the men who would destroy Troy. If you recount these things for me properly, I will immediately tell all people that a god has freely given you inspired song." So he said, and Demodocus, stirred by a god, began his song. He began where the Argives boarded their well-benched ships and sailed away, having set fire to their huts. Others, meanwhile, sat beside famous Odysseus in the Trojan assembly hall, hidden inside the horse, for the Trojans themselves had dragged it into their acropolis. So it stood there, while the Trojans, sitting around it, argued in many different ways. 3 plans seemed good to them: to chop the hollow horse apart with pitiless bronze. Hay also considered dragging the horse to a high point and throwing it down from the rocks, or letting it stay where it was as a magnificent offering to the gods, a holy charm, which is in fact what would happen. For it was their destiny to perish after they brought the great wooden horse into their city, where all the best Argive warriors sat inside, carrying death and doom for the Trojans. He sang how the sons of the Achaeans destroyed the city, pouring out of the horse once they had left their hollow hiding place. He sang how they swept through the steep city, one group here, another group there, and how Odysseus went straight to the house of Deiphobus, like Ares himself, with godlike Menelaus beside him. He told how Odysseus fought the fiercest battle there and won in the end because of mighty-hearted Athena. This is what the famous singer performed. But Odysseus was melting with grief, and tears ran down his cheeks from beneath his eyelids. He wept like a woman who throws herself on her dear husband when he has fallen before his own city and people, fighting to protect his town and children from a ruthless day of ruin. She sees him dying and gasping, wraps her arms around him and cries aloud, while soldiers behind her strike her back and shoulders with their spears and drag her away into slavery to face toil and misery, and her cheeks waste away with the most painful grief. Just so Odysseus let pitiful tears fall from his eyes. No one else noticed him there as he wept, everyone except Alcinous. Sitting close by, he alone perceived and understood, and he heard Odysseus groaning deeply. Then Alcinous immediately spoke to the awe-loving Phaeacians. "Hear me, leaders and commanders of the Phaeacians. Let Demodocus now set aside his clear-toned lyre. He does not please everyone with what he sings. From the moment we finished supper and the divine singer began, the stranger has not stopped his sorrowful weeping. It's clear that deep grief has taken hold of his heart. So let the singer pause now, so that we may all enjoy ourselves, those who host and the guest alike, for that is far better. All this has been prepared out of respect for our honored guest, the gifts of friendship and the escort we will give him. A stranger or a suppliant is like a brother to any man who has even a little sense. So do not hide behind clever thoughts. Do not conceal what I ask you. It is better for you to speak openly. Tell me the name your mother and father call you, and the others who live in your city and around it. For no human being, neither bad nor good, is born without a name. Parents give a name to every child once they are born. Tell me your land, your people, and your city, so our ships can carry you there, setting their minds toward that place. For the Phaeacian ships do not have pilots, nor do they have steering oars like other ships. Instead, the ships themselves know people's thoughts and minds. They know all the fertile fields and cities of men, and they cross the sea's deep gulf faster than anything else, wrapped in mist and cloud, and they never fear being harmed or destroyed. But I heard this once, long ago, when my father Nausithous spoke of it. He said Poseidon was angry with us, because we bring everyone home safely. He said Poseidon would one day smash a Phaeacian ship returning from an escort on the misty sea, and would cover our city with a great mountain. That is what the old man said. The god may bring it about, or may leave it unfulfilled, whatever suits his heart. But now come. Tell me this, and tell it to me exactly. Where were you driven off course? What lands of men did you reach? What were the people like, and the cities where they lived, whether some were harsh wild and unjust, and whether others were kind to strangers and had God-fearing minds. Tell me also why you weep and grieve in your heart when you hear about the Argive Danaans and the fall of Ilium. The gods brought that war about and spun out destruction for mankind so that it would become a song for future generations. Or did some relative of yours die at Troy, a brave man, a son-in-law or a father-in-law, those who become most dear after one's own blood and family? Or perhaps it was a comrade, a good man who pleased you? For a comrade who is wise and loyal is nothing less than a brother. You're listening to Classics Made Clear, classic texts translated with accuracy and accessibility for today's listener. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share these videos with your friends.